Good morning. My name is Dan Scripps, Chair of the Michigan Public Service Commission, and I call this meeting of the Commission to order on September 30th, 2025 at 11:04 a.m. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Chair Scripps.
Present.
Commissioner Peretick.
Present.
Commissioner Myers.
Present.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Today's meeting is being held in person at the Commission's office at 7109 West Saginaw Highway in Lansing, Michigan. We are also hosting this meeting remotely using Microsoft Teams. Telephone relay service is available through the phone option. If you are participating via Microsoft Teams, you may also turn on the live captions by clicking on the More button at the top right of your Teams window, then clicking on the Language and Speech from the drop-down menu, and finally clicking on Turn on Live Captions. As indicated in the notice for today's meeting, if we lose the remote connection, the Commission will not recess. However, the meeting will be recorded and available for future reference on the Commission's website. In addition, the Commissioners can receive comments via lara-mpsc-commissioners@michigan.gov, and that's LARA-MPSC-commissioners@michigan.gov. And for reference, this email is also included in today's meeting notice. We will have an opportunity, of course, for the public to make comments as provided in the agenda. A few notes about this. Comments are limited to 3 minutes and 1 per person. If you would like to make verbal comments, you must do so in person or remotely through Microsoft Teams or by calling into the meeting by phone. For individuals attending in person and who want to make a verbal comment, please fill out a comment card. They are available at the front table near the podium. For individuals participating remotely by Microsoft Teams and who want to make a verbal comment, you may click on the Raise Hand button at any time to be queued up for comment. For individuals participating remotely by phone and who want to make a verbal comment, you may press *5 at any time to be queued up for comment. Public commenters on both Microsoft Teams and on the phone are added to the same speaker queue and will be called upon in the order that they enter the speaker queue, and so please do not lower your hand or press *5 again, or you'll be removed from the queue and lose your place in line. Finally, to minimize disruptions, attendees participating by Microsoft Teams or by phone will be muted until we reach the time for public comment. The first order of business is the approval of the agenda for today's meeting.
I move for the approval of the agenda for today's Commission meeting.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We'll now have a vote on the motion to approve today's agenda. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote, and the agenda is approved. Next item of business on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the September 11, 2025 Commission meeting.
I move for the approval of the minutes from the September 11, 2025 Commission meeting.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the minutes from the September 11, 2025 Commission meeting. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote, and the Commission meeting minutes of September 11, 2025 are approved. The next item of business on the agenda is the approval of the orders and minute actions on the consent agenda, and today the Commission is assisted by Staff Attorney Lisa Gold. I recognize Ms. Gold.
Good morning. Today's consent agenda consists of 4 communications matters, 3 electric matters, and 2 gas matters. The proposed orders and minute actions for these matters have been thoroughly vetted by the Commission's technical and legal staff and are ready for your approval.
Thank you, Ms. Gold. I move for the approval of the orders and minute actions on the consent agenda.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the orders and minute actions on the consent agenda. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The orders and minute actions on the consent agenda are approved. I recognize Ms. Gold.
Item 4A1 is case number U21193, which involves an application filed by DTE Electric Company for ex parte approval of the Eagle Creek Solar Power Purchase Agreement, Freshwater Solar 2 Power Purchase Agreement, Eau Grace Solar Park Project, Elmwood Solar Park Project, Poseyville Solar Park Project, and Strasburg Solar Park Project, as well as the contracts necessary for the development of the company-owned projects. The order before you approves the ex parte application.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21193.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21193 is approved. I recognize Ms. Gold.
Item 4A2 is case number U-21483, which involves an application for approval of a waiver of MISH Admin Code R 460.926 sub 3 C and D for the Interconnection System Impact Study Fee and Facilities Study Fee filed by Alpena Power Company. The order before you approves the waivers for 1 year from the date of this order for Alpena Power Company as described in the order.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21483.
I second the motion.
Before we vote on this, just a couple of words on the order before us, which approves Alpena Power's request to increase the fee caps for system impact studies and facility studies for customers seeking to interconnect larger distributed energy systems. We've taken similar steps with other smaller utilities based on a showing that the actual costs involved for these smaller utilities exceeded the caps in our interconnection rules, and Alpena provided similar evidence in this case. This is consistent with the principle that costs for customers seeking to interconnect distributed resources shouldn't be shifted to other customers. At the same time, however, we're mindful that the costs involved in studies can have a significant and adverse impact on the economics of distributed resources, depriving both those with DERs and others of the benefits that DERs can provide. And so I'd encourage Alpena and others to continue efforts around cost containment for fees of this type. In the instant case, for example, Alpena included costs associated with developing the request for proposals for an outside consultant to perform these studies, as well as additional costs to review the proposals received. Presumably, these are one-time costs that will not need to be incurred for each DER interconnection application or each annual period. Also of note is that this fee waiver is for 1 year. If Alpena continues to incur actual costs above the caps included, even after taking reasonable steps to contain costs associated with outside consultants, they can petition for another waiver or cap amendment. Is there any additional discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21483 is approved. I recognize Ms. Gold.
Item 4B1 is case number U-21806, which involves an application filed by Consumers Energy Company requesting authority to increase its rates for the distribution of natural gas and for other relief. Staff member Jill Rusnick will describe this order.
Good morning, Commissioners. On December 16th, 2024, Consumers Energy Gas filed an application with the Commission to increase its rates for the distribution of natural gas and for other relief. The rate increase sought in this proceeding is based on the company's projections for investment, expenses, and revenue for a 12-month period ending December 31st, 2026. Consumers Energy originally requested a rate increase of $248 million, but revised the requested amounts later in the case to $217 million. The company explained in its application that key drivers of its request were due to ongoing investments in gas utility assets and to comply with environmental and legal requirements, ongoing investments in enhanced technology to provide improved operational efficiencies and increased customer satisfaction, and operation and maintenance expenses necessary to, among other things, support long-term investments and improve customer interactions. Intervention was granted to the Michigan Department of Attorney General, Retail Energy Supply Association, Michigan Environmental Council, Citizens Utility Board of Michigan, Association of Businesses Advocating Tariff Equity, Energy Michigan, the Ecology Center, the Environmental Law and Policy Center, the Union of Concerned Scientists, and Vote Solar, collectively the Clean Energy Organizations, Lansing Board of Water and Light, Michigan State University, and Sierra Club. The Commission staff also participated in the proceeding. The order before you provides decisions and guidance in several areas, some of which I will highlight. The Commission approves costs related to the company's Lyon Northville gas storage field dehydration equipment, noting that during peak times, it is essential to be able to draw sufficient, reasonably priced gas for customer usage, and that it is important that Consumers Energy be able to provide gas for residential customers in light of increased peaking related to coordinated gas and electric use, which the Northville fields may be able to provide once the dehydration system is constructed. The Commission rejects Consumers Energy's proposed costs for the Kalamazoo Service Center renovation project and notes the company can seek related costs in a future rate case accompanied by evidence of the cost and timeline of the project. For costs relating to the Lansing and Hastings Service Center, the Commission approves 2024 actual amounts already spent. I should say 2024, it's probably better. The Commission approves $208.93 million associated with the company's Enhanced Infrastructure Replacement Program, or EIRP, which is a program that is intended to ensure continued customer safety and reliable system operations in which main pipeline materials that are considered to be highest risk for leaks and service interruptions are replaced with new materials. The Commission approves Consumers Energy's request associated with its Vintage Service Replacement Program, which replaces high-risk vintage pipe materials that are not included in the EIRP or other pipeline replacement program. The Commission notes in the order that the program expenditures are prudent for reliability and safety. The Commission approves Consumers Energy's request for the investment in its Low Moderate Income, or LMI, Customer Support Enhancement Project, which will serve an important role in removing barriers for customers to identify and enroll in energy assistance programs. The need to simplify and streamline the process for LMI customers to access support is a priority of the Commission and will continue to be assessed and refined in future proceedings. Relating to the company's contribution in aid of construction, which is adding new customers to the system, also known as Kayak, the Commission directs Consumers Energy to provide a thorough justification of its Kayak and Customer Attachment Program methodologies, inclusive of an explanation as to whether it is appropriate to revise the company's assumptions to include declining natural gas demand, customer adoption rates for the customer attachment programs based on historical experience when calculating new attachment surcharges, and how to avoid unfair subsidization of existing customers. The Commission approves expenditures that would address a backlog of known leaks at an accelerated rate, even though the proposed federal rule will not come into effect until 2028. The Commission notes that regardless of the implementation of the proposed rule, addressing a backlog of known leaks represents a reasonable and prudent capital expenditure by the company to support safe and reliable natural gas service. The Commission approves costs for investment in the company's city gate stations, which raise or lower gas pressure as needed. Approved costs will be used to rebuild and for other improvements. To ensure the safety and reliability of the city gates, of which many are aged and may not be performing up to expectations. The Commission approves proposed costs for the company's Advanced Methane Detection Program, which is intended to improve the company's ability to detect small gas leaks, to lower risk and enhance public safety, as well as to limit environmental exposure to methane emissions. The Commission directs Consumers Energy in its next gas rate case to present detailed evidence that demonstrates the efforts the company is taking to offset inflation with productivity increases. The Commission directs Consumers Energy in its next gas rate case to include forecasted yearly sales for each major customer class for the 10-year gas delivery plan horizon, and include for each year a list of the amount of throughput expected on a peak demand day. The Commission also directs Consumers Energy to file an updated natural gas delivery plan that considers the costs and risks of various energy transition pathways, amongst other considerations, and require that Consumers Energy meaningfully engage interested parties in the development of its updated natural gas delivery plan to be filed no later than December 31st, 2026. The Commission approves a residential customer charge of $17 per month, an increase of $2 per month, and a rate GS1 customer charge of $21 per month, an increase of $3 per month for small commercial customers. The order before you adopts a test year of November 1st, 2025 through October 31st, 2026, a jurisdictional rate base of $11.491 billion, an authorized return on common equity of 9.8%, and an overall rate of return of 5.99%. The order authorizes Consumers Energy Gas to implement rates that increase its annual gas revenues by $157,495,000 over the rates previously approved by the Commission in the July 23rd, 2024 order in case number U-21490. A typical residential customer using 7,500 cubic feet will see an increase of $4.44 or 6.88% on their monthly bill. Consumers Energy is authorized to implement the rate increase approved by this order on or after November 1st, 2025. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rusnak. I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21806.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion?
Sure, I'll start. Today's decision reflects the Commission's responsibility to strike a careful and thoughtful balance between the modernization of gas infrastructure, the clean energy transition, and the need to ensure affordability for customers. We are at a pivotal moment in our energy landscape. The order we issue today does not represent a full embrace of either extreme. It is not a blank check for unchecked infrastructure investment, nor is it a halt to necessary modernization of the gas system. It approves investments that are reasonable and prudent to maintain safe and reliable service while being cognizant of the energy transition and disallowing expenses that are insufficiently justified, premature, or not aligned with the principles of the prudent planning and cost effectiveness. The order seeks a pragmatic path forward, one that enables the utility to maintain a safe and reliable gas system while laying the groundwork and planning for a cleaner energy future. We have a responsibility to ensure that all investments remain reasonable and prudent. As the energy landscape continues to evolve, we remain committed to a regulatory approach that serves the public by ensuring safe, reliable, and accessible energy at reasonable rates.
Thank you, Commissioner Myers. Is there any additional discussion?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. First of all, I'd like to thank all the parties who participated in this case. When a wide variety of perspectives are included in the record, then we are able to make better decisions as a commission. I would also like to thank ALJ James Varchetti for a thoroughly supported and well-reasoned proposal for decision for this case. The excellent organization, support for decisions, and reliance on commission precedent was very helpful for us to come to our final decisions in this order. Like every rate case, there are hundreds of decisions that go into this final order that's before us right now. We spend countless hours digging through the record and deliberating on the issues to make sure that we're coming to the most reasonable and most prudent decision that we can based on the information presented to us. We take these decisions very seriously. We know how important it is to Michiganders that we invest in our natural gas distribution system to ensure safety and reliability. And the hardest part of our job is navigating those decisions about needed investment while also aggressively pursuing improvements in affordability. We keep this in mind for each of the hundreds of individual decisions that need to be made as a part of this final order. As Ms. Rusnak mentioned, there are approvals for funding in this order before us for replacement of high-risk pipe materials to ensure safety, investments in storage fields to ensure that we have enough gas supply during cold winters, approvals to purchase equipment to better detect methane leaks, and among many others. And these are important investments in our system. But the order also requires the company to do a better job planning for what the future of gas demand will look like. Right now is the time to plan for expected changes to demand and to usage patterns, and these large, long-term investments being made in the distribution system need to be aligned with accurate forecasts. And affordability needs to be front and center. This order approves additional support for low and moderate income customers to help remove barriers for income qualified customers to identify and enroll in energy assistance programs. It also lowers the return on equity for Consumers Energy Gas to 9.8%, a 10 basis points lower than the previously approved ROE. ALJ Varchetti's analysis was thorough and well supported, and in balancing the calculation methodologies on the record and providing appropriate weight to the macroeconomic trends, the decision in this order finds that 9.8% strikes the right balance. Overall, the investments enabled by this order before us will improve safety, reduce methane leaks, increase deliverability, and ensure that we have a right-sized, reliable natural gas system for Michigan customers.
Thank you, Commissioner Peretick. And a few comments from me as well before we vote. First, I want to echo the thoughtful remarks made by both my colleagues, and then speak a little bit to both planning and the capital structure as well. In the order before us, we direct the company to file an updated 10-year gas delivery plan no later than the end of next year that considers the costs and risks of various energy transition pathways, and to include in that updated plan forecasted yearly sales for each major customer class and the amount of throughput expected on a peak demand day for each year. There was a fair amount of evidence on the record in this case about gas use, including forecasts for changes in use over the next decade. And there are also interesting things happening in the gas industry more broadly, including significant growth in the export of liquefied natural gas to other countries, which can have a material impact on both gas price and supply. As regulators, we're charged with evaluating the reasonableness and prudence of proposed investments, and having a better understanding of the broader context affecting projected gas sales is a key element in allowing us to perform that core regulatory responsibility. And that starts with an updated and more fulsome 10-year gas delivery plan that includes forecasted sales and expectations of peak demand. In addition, I also wanted to say just a few words on the credit metrics approved in this case. As Ms. Resnick and Commissioner Peretick noted, the order in front of us approves a return on common equity of 9.80%, modestly below the current approved ROE of 9.9% and modestly above the ROE of 9.75% as recommended by the ALJ. It's also in line with the 9.80% ROE adopted for DTE Gas Company in its most recent rate case. We feel this appropriately balances the interests of the company and its customers as required by Michigan law and a long line of court precedent. One significant issue in our deliberations was competing evidence on the record that showed the current ROE and the company's proposed ROE were above industry peers, while at the same time there was also evidence on the record showing that average ROEs had increased in the last year, reflecting macroeconomic factors as well as changes among the peer group. And so it was in balancing those competing evidentiary points that we found a modest decrease in the ROE was appropriate, but not as much as recommended by staff, the Attorney General, and other parties, and ultimately recommended by the administrative law judge. I'd also note that ROEs have largely been static in Michigan in recent years, with small decreases in this case and the most recent DTE Gas case. To the extent that ROEs in Michigan have been unreasonably high, my belief is that we've largely driven out the excess at this point, and that this is an issue we may revisit if the cost of capital and trends from other peer utilities remain elevated and/or continue to trend higher. Similarly, evidence on the record supported maintaining the balance between debt and equity at a 50-50 split. This is also not locked in stone, and should evidence in future cases justify a deviation from that 50-50 balance, we will, of course, carefully review that evidence, as we do in all cases. And finally, I also want to share my thanks to the staff, the company, the interveners, our attorneys and advisors, and specifically, as Commissioner Peretick noted, to Judge Varchetti. It was a very thoughtful description of the issues on capital structure and in all of the issues, and very much appreciate a solid and well-reasoned proposal for decision. And I also want to thank my colleagues. The rate cases are challenging, particularly with 10-month deadlines. We accelerated this one a couple of weeks, and Commissioner Myers, you joined in the middle of it. And the ability to get up to speed on, as Commissioner Peretick noted, hundreds of discrete issues. It is like speaking a foreign language. And Commissioner Peretick, your wise counsel and thoughtfulness throughout, as always, was appreciated and made the ultimate decision better. And with that, I'm pleased to support the order in front of us. We'll now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21806 is approved. We've now reached the time reserved for members of the public to address the commission. As mentioned in the notice for today's meeting, we'll take public comments in the following order. First from individuals attending in person, and then from individuals participating remotely, either through Microsoft Teams or the phone, who have entered the speaker queue. As a reminder, this public comment period is for commissioners to listen to comments and concerns and not to answer specific questions. When providing comment, please indicate your name and where you live if you're willing to share, so that we have it for our records. And again, please limit comments to one per person and keep them brief, no longer than 3 minutes, so we have a chance to hear from all who would like to comment. We do have a couple of comment cards today, and so I'd invite Allie Griffith to make your way to the podium, and then Vanessa Mulnix, you're up next. Thanks for being here today.
Hi, thank you for having us. So as you're aware, legislators recently passed PA 233, which allows solar and wind companies to bypass township zoning for industrial and solar wind development. While I disagree with this legislation, I'm not here today to comment on the removal of our right to zone our townships as we see fit. The application process that the MPSC has had to retrofit to this type of project has some major flaws. Hecate Solar is currently in the process of applying for this approval on their Springport Solar Farm project. It is my understanding that the solar company is required to include comments from locals in support or opposition of their project. Hecate has had their first public meeting sharing the project goals and initially provided an internal-only email that bounces when comments were submitted. They also provided small cardstocks to write on or an iPad camera to film comment. By the second meeting they held, they had apparently fixed the email's technical issue. While the email snafu may not have been intentional, it's illustrative of the underlying issue. The process of an energy company submitting its own opposition leads to an atmosphere of distrust. If local residents are already upset about their zoning being bypassed for the will of the state government, why should we trust them to submit our comments? If this issue wasn't brought up, who would police the iPad or the comment cards that could easily be forgotten? There's no docket for this at the MPSC as the application is incomplete. However, the rules of the new process state that the public comment submitted must be submitted with their application. The solar company also advertised a public meeting and instead opted for an open house style with tables and staff members to answer individual questions. In essence, they divided the public to take less heat, but the lack of record or public answers to group questions also adds to that atmosphere of distrust. If my community doesn't hear my concerns being put on record or the company's responses, how are we to know they're being fully transmitted to you in their application? There are also other solar projects in my area that do not conform to visual barrier rules. Hecate promises a very regulated visual barrier to protect neighboring residents like myself, and said that the state regulates and polices that. I know you can't answer questions, but I'll leave it open to what is your plan to enforce the promises that these energy companies are making? My property value is extremely threatened with the sights and sounds of an industrial energy park, not to mention threatened with the 2-year-long construction expectation. What is your mechanism for holding these companies to their word? With this no longer being the jurisdiction of local zoning, you need a much more robust process backing up control that the state has usurped from its townships. Until this commission has a real plan in place to back the new legislation, I believe you should suspend approvals and focus on a transparent and trustworthy system. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Vanessa Mulnix.
Thank you for this opportunity. My public comment focuses on the use of prime agricultural land for the development of commercial solar plants. Zoning of land for the most appropriate use has long been the purview of local units of government who have the most knowledge of the needs of the community and are accountable to the citizens that elect them. The Michigan Public Service Commission is accountable to the person that appoints them, the governor of the state of Michigan. At a state level, 3 people appointed by a politician from whatever party they align themselves with is not representative government. As a Michigan citizen, I am opposed to the construction of a commercial solar plant by Hecate and Hecate LLC on prime agricultural land in Eaton County, Hamlin Township, and Jackson County, Springport Township. According to the Millerton News, serving the Northeast communities in New York and Connecticut, Hecate has pending litigation in the state of New York, and excerpts from the article state, a motion brought in Delaware Chancery Court seeking a restraining order against Hecate LLC, the developer of Shepherd's Run. The motion was brought this month by a Hecate creditor, NEC the 6th, which loaned Hecate $82 million. The lender claims in court that Hecate is in breach of credit agreements and has been making ongoing attempts to hide and dissipate NEC the 6th collateral in order to pay unsecured obligations to its principals and other creditors. They further state that Hecate Holdings is woefully insolvent, strapped for cash, and drastically over-leveraged, the motion states. LCM Fund, a creditor to Hecate, filed a motion on August 26th, following a motion brought in the same court by another creditor, NEC the 6th, which loaned Hecate $82 million and which is seeking a restraining order against the Chicago-based developer of solar, wind, and energy storage products. LCM Fund states in its motion that Hecate Energy is in default under their loan agreements. In addition, state regulators in New York have issued 2 notices of incomplete application. On June 27th, Office of Renewable Energy Siting found Hecate's most recent application deficient in 11 areas. Given this information and the opposition of the communities of impacted by Hecate's Springport and Hamlin Solar Project. I ask you to take this information into consideration in a thoughtful and nonpartisan manner that respects the concerns of the citizens of these communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Molnix. Do we have anybody else in person today who wishes to provide comment? It doesn't look like we have anybody participating through the virtual options as well. So at this point, we will close public comment for today. As a reminder, the public may continue to submit comments to the commissioners via email at lara-mpsc@commissioners@michigan.gov. And again, that email is included in the meeting notice as well. Just one announcement before we close today. We are celebrating from September 15th to October 15th, Hispanic Heritage Month, so we're right in the middle of it. And that celebrates the rich history, culture, and contributions of Hispanic Americans who've done so much to make Michigan and our country a better place to live. And with that, we'll conclude today's meeting. The next regular commission meeting is scheduled for Thursday, October 9, 2025 at 1 o'clock p.m. That's next Thursday, October 9 at 1 o'clock p.m. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn today's meeting.
I second the motion.
We will now have a vote on the motion to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries by a unanimous vote. The meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everybody.